Come on now, bro. All these pound-for-pound fighters are too scared to fight me. They need 200 million to do it.
I got 200 million for you.
I'm fighting Jake Paul.
Pussy.
You fighting the best fighter in the world. You better be taking it seriously. You know, that goes to show, you know, how serious he's taking me and how much.
Crawford has done a complete U-turn on Jake Paul's place in boxing. And now, with Jake being a potential stand-in for Tank, Crawford's made it clear, if the stars align, he's ready to take that fight. This comes after he once insisted Jake Paul wasn't worthy of sharing the ring with real pros. But it looks like the lure of a massive payday has shifted his stance. At first, Crawford couldn't stomach what Jake represented. A YouTuber stepping into boxing, raking in millions, and calling out fighters who'd bled for years. He even called Jake a circus act, turning the sport into a show instead of a battle. Back then, Crawford was one of the loudest voices saying Paul was disrespecting boxing, a sacred grind built on patience and hard lessons.
He can punch with that right hand. Like, I seen him, you know what I mean, up close in person. Like, dude is big. He's not as slow as people think he is, and he can punch. You know, that's why a lot of people know, like, there was times where, you know, him and Tyson was in the ring.
Now, he's walked that back. The tune has changed, and a new kind of respect is starting to surface. On Logan Paul's podcast, Crawford openly admitted he'd been wrong about Jake. He said, yes, his boxing. At first, I was against it. I was like, man, this dude. When people were coming at you and your brother negatively, I was like, yeah, they are just using their YouTube fame to step into boxing and cash out. Meanwhile, you've got fighters who've dedicated their entire lives and never made anything close. He thought it was pure disrespect to everyone who lived this sport. And those words, they're coming from a man who once swore Jake Paul was poison to boxing.
Because check this out, Tank ain't gonna lose this fight. Hell no. Hell no. Tank ain't losing this fight. Too many holes. Man, Jake don't have enough experience. Yeah, man, it's gonna be taking candy from a baby. You know, Jake is missing the rules. See, this is what happened when you don't grow up in the game. When you don't grow up in the game, man, at a young age, this is what happens, you know?
According to Crawford, his change of heart came after seeing Jake Paul put in the work. He didn't see an influencer messing around. He saw a man training like a real professional. That's when it clicked. Crawford said, after watching him and seeing the seriousness he's bringing to training and the focus he's putting into the sport, I was like, this dude is getting better. And that's not something Crawford says easily. He's a perfectionist, undefeated, sharp, and ruthless inside the ropes. So for him to look at Jake Paul and say he's impressed, that actually means something. He's not calling Jake elite, but he's admitting the grind is genuine.
It's gonna happen. Ryan Garcia fights for DAZN, and Jake Paul fights on Netflix. I mean, that's pretty much the bottom line. Golden Boy has a contract with DAZN. Ryan Garcia has a contract with Golden Boy. And that's just the way it is. I mean, this is business. You know, Ryan Garcia's probably going to rant saying, oh, you're keeping me from making money and this and that and fighting. No, you have to go by the law, by the rules. You have a contract with DAZN.
Crawford saw it with his own eyes when he went to Puerto Rico to watch Jake Paul take on Ryan Bolland. That night, Jake landed a clean knockout, and Crawford, who happened to be there for a convention, couldn't help but pay attention. His last fight against Bolland, I was there in Puerto Rico, Crawford said. I was sitting there thinking, this dude can really hit with that right hand. In that moment, something shifted. Sure, Jake isn't facing a monster just yet, but for him, it's all part of the journey. Stepping stones, just like every other fighter has to take.
Out of like the influencer world would be the most lucrative thing for my career, and I think I was the only one who like actually wanted to do it. And actually wanted to go all the way, and that's why I set the goal for myself early to become a world champion, set the bar extremely high.
Crawford's admitted he's come to see that Jake isn't trying to cheat the system. He's not out here pretending he's ready for Usyk or Canelo tomorrow. He's fighting opponents that make sense for where he's at, and with every bout, he's getting better. A lot of people just want Jake Paul to fight Alexander Usyk, Crawford said. But no. You've got to work your way up. And when he saw Jake live, something clicked. He walked away with far more respect than he ever expected. That's a huge shift for someone who used to roll his eyes every time Jake's name came up. Now, Crawford isn't just recognizing him, he's actually open to fighting him. And with Gervonta Davis possibly out of the Jake Paul matchup, that door has swung wide open.
It's kidnapping, all sorts of crazy stuff, guys. If this is true, I talk about just fumbling the bag. One of the biggest financial opportunities of his career, and he's about to ruin it. It's being reported that Jake's team is offering Ryan Garcia as a replacement for a December fight.
When Crawford first heard about the Jake versus Tank fight, he called it crazy. And he wasn't wrong. It is crazy. Jake Paul is a cruiserweight, tipping the scales around 200 pounds, while Tank fights at 135. That's a huge, almost chucking gap. But Jake wasn't backing down. In a Netflix interview, when asked about Crawford's crazy comment, Jake said, "This fight is crazy. It's two of America's biggest names in boxing, and it's a 50-50th matchup because of his skill and experience. But my size is the equalizer, and that's what makes this fight so amazing. We really don't know what's going to happen."
See this footage? Look at Tank. Now, if you know what you're looking at, the guy must be around 150 right now, 153, something like that. And you can really tell when he's sideways. When you look at him sideways and see the depth. See, from the front view, you can't really tell. But when he turns sideways, the guy is a wrecking ball. He's literally a baby rhino.
That's classic Jake. Confident, calculated, and always selling the moment. But then came the question that really stirred things up. Would he fight Terence Crawford? Jake didn't even pause. "I would for sure fight Terence, 100%. Let's run it." Now, that's the matchup nobody saw coming. Crawford, 42-0, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters alive, maybe the most complete boxer of his generation, but is also getting older, while Jake is young, strong, and enormous for his weight. From a money and attention standpoint, it suddenly makes perfect sense.
Not gonna lie, you really got knocked out. Yeah, I really got knocked out. Watch the fight, you idiot. Went 12 rounds. Like, you're weird, bro. Bro didn't even knock me out or even throw punches. That's sad, bro. Just know, bro, I'm coming back. It's gonna be vicious. Like, you guys don't want to see that. You guys are weird, trying to troll me over a fight I didn't even care about.
From a legacy perspective, it's wild. And that's likely why both men are even entertaining it. Jake mentioned that the Canelo fight was almost set before the Mexican legend pulled out and signed with Saudi boxing boss Taiki Alshik. "I think the Canelo fight is still a massive one between him and me," Jake said. "We're some of the biggest draws in boxing, and I think it would be an amazing challenge for me. But right now, I'm locked in on November 14th, getting through Tank first."
He's 5'5" with a 67-inch arm reach. But as you can see here, he's working on his versatility. He's now working on fighting orthodox. He's naturally a southpaw. Now he's working on fighting orthodox.
Now that Tank might be out, who's next? Crawford fits the bill perfectly. A name with respect, credibility, and technical brilliance. Jake brings the numbers, the marketing, and the mainstream hype. Together, they pull in millions of viewers, and both are fully aware of it. What's fascinating is how fast the dynamics in boxing can change when money and timing suddenly align.
It's Jake Paul.
Do I think he beats Jake? Yeah. I mean,
There's a huge size advantage, though.
it is, but I think Tank got the skills to make sure he come out on top.
Do you think that Jake has gone better?
Yeah, I think actually Jake got tremendously better from the time frame that he started till now. And in the right situation, I also could see him become a world champion.
Really?
A year ago, Crawford wouldn't even whisper Jake's name in the same breath as boxing. Today is saying, if everything aligns, I take that fight. It's no longer a stretch, it's business. And honestly, it's easy to see why. Crawford's done it all. Undisputed in 2 weight classes. Flawless record. Pound-for-pound respect. There aren't many fights left that truly thrill fans or pay him what is earned. A showdown with Jake Paul would shatter pay-per-view records. It's not about proving anything anymore. It's about cashing in on legacy while the moment's burning bright.
Know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank.
Jake's side isn't any less calculated. He knows that facing Crawford gives him a level of legitimacy he can't earn by beating another retired MMA fighter. Crawford is the real deal. And if Jake somehow holds his own, or even goes the distance, his standing in boxing would shoot through the roof.
My only concern is, you know, the gloves. You understand what I'm saying? Because we don't fight in 12-ounce gloves. We don't use 12-ounce gloves. That's training gloves, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's 2 pounds away from Jake. He fights.
Anthony Joshua has also weighed in. 2 former UFC fighters, including Nate Diaz, are being eyed to step in for Gervonta Davis. But the real shocker came when Joshua's name popped up. After online speculation and playful back and forth, Eddie Hearn finally confirmed that talks about a potential Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight have actually happened. And Joshua's response? Simple, bold, and unmistakable. Just tell me where and when.
It's kidnapping, all sorts of crazy stuff, guys. If this is true, talk about just fumbling the bag. One of the biggest financial opportunities of his career, and he's about to ruin it. It's being reported that Jake's team is offering Ryan Garcia as a replacement for a December.
That's the kind of line only Joshua can drop. Straight-faced, no drama, just pure readiness. It wasn't a negotiation or some cryptic social media tease. It was a clear message from one of boxing's most iconic heavyweights. If the business checks out, I'm in. Eddie Hearn explained that, while the idea sounds exciting, it's not that simple to make real. Speaking to TV, Hearn said there are still plenty of pieces that need to fall into place, mostly the messy business side of the sport. The biggest hurdle is that Jake Paul is tied to Netflix, while Joshua is signed with DAZN. Both platforms are rivals in the streaming battle, and unless they strike some kind of crossover deal, the fight can't even leave the discussion phase. Without DAZN's consent or a deal that satisfies them, we wouldn't move forward anyway, Hearn said.
Have come out and put this fight in serious peril. So much so that reports have been saying that, hey, Jake Paul's team have already started contacting fighters about being a replacement, whether it be for this November 14th date or maybe a date in December. And the 5 names they already contacted are some of the biggest names in the sport.
But here's where it gets real. Hearn also revealed he's already spoken with Jake Paul's manager, Nikisa Badarian, about the situation. This isn't fantasy matchmaking anymore. Actual talks are happening. And Hearn confirmed that Joshua himself has been informed, responding immediately with his signature confidence. Just let me know where and when, AJ said.
He's a marketing genius, but when it comes to people that picking his fights, I can't get my head around it. If Tank hits him clean, he's going to sleep. He'll have a lot of smoke blowing up his backside by his coaching team and people like that, but when he gets hit the real 10-ounce, well, I'm told it's 16-ounce gloves now, it's like an exhibition. Right. I'm told it's big gloves and head guards, he's going to need that.
Tank is a natural lightweight, while Jake tips the scales near 200 pounds. It was always going to be a spectacle, maybe not the most logical matchup, but one that had fans buzzing non-stop. Now, with the Davis fight possibly off, Jake's team is already scanning the landscape for someone who can step into that massive headline slot. And Jake didn't waste a second confirming it. Speaking to Sky Sports, he said straight up that talks about a fight with Anthony Joshua are real. 100% it can happen, he said. Our teams are already talking and working to try to make it happen next year.
And the situation, you guys can look into it. I didn't, you know me, I don't really speak about stuff outside the ring, but now I have to since it affects the ring, okay, and what happens in the ring. The fight may be canceled. It's a civil suit from my understanding, and I don't want to, confuse you guys or misinform you guys. I didn't look into it much, but from
Jake being Jake, he didn't stop there. He added, it would be fun to take on Anthony Joshua after this fight. Take a massive risk, a massive challenge, and go into a fight where no one thinks I'd even have the slightest chance of winning. That excites me. That's vintage Paul, chasing the impossible while selling it with a straight face. He knows exactly what he's doing. If he faces Joshua, it would be one of the biggest boxing events of the decade. And from a competitive standpoint, it's absolutely insane. Joshua's 6 feet 6 inches, 250 pounds, Olympic gold medalist, two-time unified heavyweight champion. Jake Paul, for all his improvement, is still a cruiserweight-level fighter with fewer than 10 pro bouts, but is fearless in chasing moments, and that's why fans can't look away.
We know it's early. Less than 2 weeks, no fighter is going to take that. There will be no fight if it isn't Tank Davis on November 14th. As this moment, there has been no cancellation, but it seemingly is in the direction of Tank Davis not fighting Jake Paul on the 14th. So no fighter, legitimate fighter, is going to step in on 2 weeks' notice, even if...
Still, not everyone is impressed. Former UFC champion Michael Bisping had plenty to say about Jake Paul's next move, and he didn't hold back. Speaking on his YouTube channel, Bisping said he has zero sympathy for Jake while he scrambles to find a replacement for Gervonta Davis. Bisping voiced what many in the fight world have been thinking. The only reason people were even hyped for the Paul versus Davis matchup was curiosity. Fans wanted to see how Tank's skill would match up against Jake's size. Without that fight, though, the excitement just isn't there.
The retort would be there's such a big weight discrepancy there, right? That's what some people...
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Tank probably sparred like heavyweights or light heavyweights and things like that.
Damn,
so
really?
It's probably nothing that he never seen before. I'm pretty sure Jake never fought nobody that little.
No, it's good.
So
that's the fascinating part about it.
I feel like it's more so harder for Jake to fight a smaller guy like that.
Bisping also highlighted what's frustrated traditional fight fans for years: Jake's choice of opponents. Every time Jake steps into the ring, questions of legitimacy follow. His beaten retired MMA fighters, aging boxers, and names long past their prime. It's entertainment, not elite competition. And while Bisping acknowledged that Jake has improved, he still isn't convinced Paul would ever face someone truly dangerous, like Francis Ngannou.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis November the 14th fight is off. The Jake Paul team have now reached out to Anthony Joshua, Floyd Mayweather, Ryan Garcia and Edgar Berlanga to replace Tank Davis, who is being sued for assault on his ex-girlfriend.
He laid it out in his usual blunt style, going up against Francis Ngannou, a man who pushed Tyson Fury, even dropped him, and, according to many, was lucky not to win their fight, is a completely different level. There's no way Jake Paul fights him, Bisping said. If he does, hey, I'll be the first to hold my hand up and admit I was wrong.
Is this really the case? It has been reported by a couple of online periodicals, and if this is the case, then it says something about influencer, crossover and exhibition boxing. Because the reports are that the Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis fight is light by 6,000 tickets.
Bisping isn't just hating, he's speaking from a fighter's perspective. Ngannou isn't merely a power puncher. He nearly shocked the world in his boxing debut against the heavyweight king himself. Jake might be fearless, but Ngannou represents a whole different level of danger. He's massive, explosive, and carries real knockout power against elite heavyweights. The risk-to-reward ratio there is staggering. And yet, Jake and Ngannou have already clashed verbally, setting the stage for what could be explosive tension.
Jake Paul, Tank, how you see that fight going?
Man, that's not a real fight. I like Jake.
Is Tank?
It's not a real fight.
It's not a fight. Does Tank have a chance? He's so much smaller. He's a real boxer, but he's so much smaller.
After Jake's bout with Mike Tyson, Ngannou called him out online, saying he wanted to slap him. Jake fired back, labeling Ngannou a clout chaser. It never went beyond social media, but it did plant a seed. Still, Bisping believes that's exactly where it'll stay. On Twitter, not in the ring. Meanwhile, Nate Diaz's name has resurfaced. He's fought Jake before and went the distance. While that fight didn't exactly set the world on fire, it still sold. Diaz brings the fan base, the grit, and crossover appeal, but is not the blockbuster-level name needed to fill Gervonta Davis' shoes.
In here, so early rumours for the replacement for Tank Davis to fight Jake Paul is Nate Diaz. It's going to be a rematch that no one asked for and no one wants to see. Unless you do. What's your thoughts?
The only two who could truly move the needle like that are Anthony Joshua and, maybe someday, Francis Ngannou. If Jake lands Joshua, it's game over for the critics. That fight would smash every record across streaming platforms. The spectacle alone, YouTube sensation versus Olympic heavyweight icon, is insane enough to draw eyes. But the business side will decide everything. DAZN and Netflix aren't just sharing content, they're rivals. So unless a mega co-promotion deal happens, this could stay nothing more than talk for now.
I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the
and
fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody that. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually.
You think
I'm
it's a
not
good
hating
fight?
on the fight, but I think my thoughts on it is let's watch and see what happens.
Ryan Garcia said that boxing is turning into WWE.
Yeah,
with that type of matchup. Do you agree? Last thing, White House card, like he said, you want Conor McGregor.
Yeah, but the whole thing's at WWE, so
Right.
it's like, at least that's happening and getting something to talk.
Still, Joshua's just let me know where and when line changed the entire tone of the conversation. It's no longer a joke or a gimmick. It's a real fight that both sides are circling. Hearn wouldn't even entertain it if the money and reach weren't enormous. And for Jake, whether he beats Gervonta Davis or not, getting Joshua to agree is the kind of win that keeps his entire boxing story alive. So right now, with Diaz, Ngannou, Joshua, and Crawford in the mix, Jake Paul's next chapter is shaping up to be as unpredictable as ever. And for someone like him, that's exactly how he likes it. Loud, risky, and impossible to ignore. Well, what do you think? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more updates.